And good evening. I guess I could say good night at this point with how late it is. Welcome everyone back to Fireside Casts. I'm Eki in the booth with Wild Rumpus on the other microphone and Dr. Underscore on production. We are here with Newbie Cup 10's playoffs bracket, the second portion of the tournament. First match of the day, Yellow Babbers versus Gummy. As usual, I'm excited to cover these games. I don't know how you're feeling. I am a little tired, but I think I can put that aside to deliver for this here cast.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nice. These are two teams we've already covered before. If anyone is joining again, we covered the group stages. It must have been a week ago, last weekend maybe. Don't remember exactly the day, but yeah, now playoffs are proceeding. These teams had a taste of what competition is like and got to sort of sit on that experience, learn from it, continue scrimming, and they're here yet again to play yet again.
Yeah, and I think something that should be brought up is looking at this bracket here. Yellow Babbers probably had one of the easier games of the bracket for their quarterfinals matchup. They took the series 2-0. They beat La Geeky 5-0 and 5-2 on each map they played. But something that I think is interesting, and I really want to point this out, is Gummy is 6th seed for this bracket. All right. They played against Unk Ballant in their quarterfinals, who are 3rd seed, and Gummy has made it up into the semifinals, which means they won on an upset, beating the higher seeded team in a 4-1, 5-2, 2-map sweep in their series. So I think they've shown up today. They are looking to really take this one home, or at least go the extra mile, at least try and find their way in one of those trophy spots. But I'm excited to see what they have to offer for us tonight.
Yeah, I think that definitely shows that since the seeding was set with the group stages, they've really stepped up and yeah, put the grind in. Oh, also I see in chat here, it's thank you Gummy instead of Gummy with the TY.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely putting the work in that the interim, which that's a new thing as well with the group stages early on, and then the actual playoffs themselves. And yeah, TY Gummy really showing that there's good reason for that to be sort of a new introduction.
Yeah, I think they are a force to be reckoned with Thank You Gummy taking home the Dubski against Unk Ballant. Again, and I want to point this out just as often as I possibly can, it's an upset. Thank You Gummy was not, I think in most people's eyes, they were not favored to win that. And I think their group stage performance for Thank You Gummy, they were 6th place in the groups, which meant they went 2-2. They were one of the, I think, 4 or 5 teams that advanced that went 2-2, and they were towards the bottom half of those teams. So I think for most people, and I think especially their opponents that they had to fight up against, they were not the favored team to win, but they didn't care. They showed up, they played, and they swept that series. So I'm really excited to just see them show up here and take on Yellow Babbers, who we saw in previous games. Very strong group of players, a very strong team. They are 3-1 in the group standings, or for their win-loss in group standings. Witness Gaming Jr. is the only team to be undefeated so far, and even they struggled in their matchup against Froyo but bad, at least on their second map. So regardless of which team wins this, I think the bracket is pretty set to be interesting across the board.
True, yeah. And worth noting as well that Yellow Babbers are playing with Isaac in place of Snower on Soldier. which is unfortunate having to play with a ringer. I don't know why Snower can't attend. And the extra debuff there is Snower has that invite blood coursing through him. He just hasn't realized it yet. So it's definitely going to be... I know nothing about Isaac as a player, but nonetheless, I mean, playing with someone who isn't the player you've been practicing with regularly is always going to be a little difficult to adjust to as a team. In lower divisions, sometimes ringers can actually just like do really well and carry a team. But yeah, I expect, generally speaking, that Yellow Babbers are going to have maybe a tougher time without their regular guy here.
Yeah, I think getting a ringer or even a sub to play in when you haven't played with them consistently, especially when you're newer to the game, and I think it's very apparent when it's a place like the Newbie Cup where these teams pretty much exclusively play with their main players, assuming that everybody's going to be able to show up and, play on the dates that are needed. These new players that show up can often throw a wrench into the works. It can really clog up things, especially if this ringer or the sub is not accustomed to the style of your game, or they're not accustomed to the speed at which you play. Getting ringers in the Newbie Cup especially, and I think my team a while back when I played had to deal with this. Ringers are definitely a toss-up where they can either carry you straight home to the dub, or you can get a ringer that has no idea how you play and they're just caught in, or they're too far behind, or it's just it can be a very unfortunate situation. More often than not it is, but I have faith. I know, or at least I think Isaac will be able to put up a good performance for these players today.
Yep, and we are on process yet again. Looks like we are actually readying up here, so you guys don't have to hear us talk about process for probably the 100th time. Who do you have your eyes on this first mid?
Well, the way I've seen these two teams play beforehand, usually I like to look at the demos just to see what they're looking at, see what they're eyeing up, see what damage they're trying to get out. But with how these teams have played before, I want to take a look at the soldiers. I want to see where they're going and maybe if they're trying to go fast. And we saw Ink trying to go in, but did not quite get as deep as I think they had wanted to. Kitchen Sink is in blue choke, very low, is going to have to back up and get healed. And it looks like, thank you, Gummy, is looking to, or I believe Yellow Babber actually, is looking to push forward, unless I have these teams swapped around. Red is looking to push forward here. They are succeeding. Do take down Kitchen Sink.
Oh, man. And just like that, suddenly 3 players die for Gummy. And, Joe Reel is on the med. But at this point, down this many players, at least Red has an Uber that they can use to get out. Although, that being said, they're suddenly finding these kills anyway. Opal with a few nice kills. We're seeing a trade on point. So this is really a matter of whose spawners are faster. Reds will spawn sooner, so we're really expecting them to have the numbers advantage. As long as... Ooh, Soul goes down, though.
Well, Soul does go down. Pizza Hat dies, though. Opal going to be able to find Flaming as well. That means Medic and Scout down for the side of Yellow Babber. It looks like Kitchen Sink going to be dying as well. Not before taking out Mr. Wolf, at least. But, in the post of that Uber handshake, the most Soul can really do there is just try and run. That's a moment where you don't even hold S. That's where you just turn around and you hold W. That's where the little backpedaling, speed debuff really, really shows its, really rears its ugly head. And I think even with just turning around and holding W, they couldn't get out. They were just caught in.
In a case like that, Pizza Hat is just committing to chasing the med. And, as a result, we did see Flaming actually get caught because of that play. Oh my goodness, what a bomb there from Kitchen Sink. Gonna take out the medic, and that being said, Blue does lose 3 players for that med pick. Mr. Wolf did die in the chaos, but yeah, there just aren't enough bodies alive for Babbers to really fight second. They're just gonna have to play this ad out of last.
Yeah, and I think Ink noticed that there was an opportunity for them to try and sack in, and they tried to go off of it, But with the position Flaming was taking, just hiding in that spawn, waiting for his players to come up, that was, you know, the ideal situation to be in, and they were able to get out and maintain control of that Uber. They are going to pop through onto mid here. Going to find Gay Tony, Joe Real finding that pick as they try and pressure forward even harder. A lot of damage coming out into the choke, though. Players are very weak.
That is so crazy. They had 4 players insta-chase through choke to fight mid, while they had a soldier capping 2 and a heavy revved on last. Which, I mean, at a certain point, yeah, you might just need to trust your flank to clear everything rather than leave the guy. That being said, I don't think that's the main reason why Flaming was caught in the post, but nonetheless, Flaming was caught. And now Soul Bad Guy with 90% Uber advantage pushing into second here. If they do this cleanly, this could have implications into last.
Yeah, if they do this right, they could set themselves up in a spot where they're in scoring position, really. They could just waddle straight forward in, but they're going to lose Mr. Wolf and Gay Tony. This Uber is not going to net them a lot. It's actually going to be a net loss for them as they lose Wes as well on top of it. Probably going to be losing Soul as well as they get taken down very low. Pizza Hat able to clean up on the juggle from Kitchen Sink, I believe, and that is effectively a wipe for Thank You Gummy. And Yellow Babber is looking to push into mid and take that one away from Thank You Gummy. And I think back to what you were talking about where Babber was kind of caught in the choke, the Med was caught in the choke there. I don't think the Putis on last being there with a soldier capping is why they lost that. But hold that thought. As the Uber comes out from
Tony's caught.
Babber. Ooh, that's not good. That's not what you want to see from your demo. They do die here. They do have a soldier behind fighting Lazy. Could potentially get the kill here. Wes finds it.
Wes gets the trade, but Ink is also stuck behind. Ooh, and actually goes for the play as well. Oh man, this is a very committal fight from Gummy. Yeah, I don't see this going particularly well for them because Soul is going to get cleaned up here. Yeah, just not really the numbers to fight with. Both soldiers kind of caught in is already pretty bad because the other team can kind of just pressure up the picks, but then committing your heals to a fight where you're down numbers is really just gifting Flaming the 60 ad that they have now.
Yeah, it's that's just unfortunate, really. You committed too hard, and you're gonna pay the price for it. And for Thank You Gummy, that means they've got to set up what is essentially full disad. It's not even essentially, this just is full disad on their last. At least they have players alive. They can maybe kite this if they play it carefully, but it looks like Flaming and the rest of their combo. Wait a minute! Wes gets the spam onto Flaming, gets the kill. Ink comes in, takes down Lazy. Isaac dies by rollout as well. Gay Tony, Ink dying. Joe Real getting a 2K in lobby here. Now a 3K as they find Opal as well. It's equalized. Joe Real finally going down to the hands of Wes, but not before he gets the triple. Pizza coming in to clean up off Wes as well, securing his team, their position here.
That is just incredible. I mean, the med dropped to coordinated soldier spam and then just both teams exploding. Now we have Pizza Hat actually, killing Tony yet again in lobby. So that's now a demo down. Keep in mind, Soul does have the Uber advantage here, but doesn't have Uber quite yet. And this is going to be a very sketchy push out because you're down a demo. The other team would really love to shove a doorway, try and get into last, but Uber is being taken here very aggressively through upper IT. Ooh,
they're using
the coordination.
So late.
Yeah, Opal actually gets dropped during that. And yeah, now the Uber is effectively wasted. It's just a matter of, okay, there's at least enough kills here to maybe take a fight, but health is not really that great.
Yeah, health is not looking good. They do have Soul living, which is, you know, the bare minimum for this. They definitely could try and get a fight back in if they just slow down for a moment, regroup. Ink going to trade out with Kitchen Sink as they take down West, but Lazy will make it a little bit better for the side of Yellow Babber as they find, I believe that was Mr. Wolf. So with a soldier and a scout down, and now I believe this is Joe caught in one, dies to Opal, not able to finish off the kill. Wait a minute,
Uber.
Gay Tony be dead on point here, very low, no one's with him.
They could just cap right now, there's no one to stop it. In fact, the Angie's full committed, the gun is not built. Somehow, two of Yellow Babber's players go down. Make that three now. Only now the cap time comes out. Yeah, it's going to be a hold. Joe is rolling out there. Honestly, the scout rolling out is part of the reason why there wasn't that much cap time going on, but with the instant demo kill on last, I mean, capping the point should be at the top of your mind at that point.
Mm-hmm. That's just a situation where the first thing on your mind, like you said, should be the point. You should be playing for the cap. You should be trying to get some time on the point, draw eyes towards it so you can now try and kill people that are full committing, like that NG. You could maybe have at least traded that NG for your demo, have some kind of pick. You kind of need to get 2 players for each... excuse me. You need to get 2 players to really make that demo death even, because the demo is just so powerful. Isaac, looking towards Al-Qaeda, will be bombing forward. Little bit of a weaker bomb, doesn't go very deep. Probably didn't want to go off the wall and just get some space.
Oh my goodness. These players, the damage from the bomb can actually get followed up on. That being said, Isaac dying there, oh man. And Lazy Guy just kind of walking as Soul, trying to get the kill, but ends up dying for it. And now tables have turned a little bit. Ink actually might be dying. It's looking like we have a pause, actually. So, game state right now, I mean, Ink is going to be going down, so Opal and Soul are going to be the only players alive for TY Gummy. Yeah, this is not really a situation they want to fight second immediately. They can just chill on last, hold off against any aggression, and get their spawners, and then push out with the ad. But yeah, Isaac going down here definitely made this post a little bit worse for Gummy. Because even assuming if Lazy Guy dies, like still, if you have that soldier alive for, you know, your demo dies for 3 kills, soon to be 4, that's more than enough to pressure last off of, even if the other med has Uber.
Yeah, 100%. Because, I mean, even if the med has Uber here, right, you know that med's going to be relatively low. They might not know how much he'll regen to, but they know he took pretty much close to 190. So they have a general ballpark. My dogs are even, I don't know if that picked up on the microphone, but my dogs are even screaming that this is a pretty opportune time for Yellow Babbers to try and push in. They have a free pick in the form of Ink, who's trying to get in on the point here. And Thank You Gummy has a very, very hard task ahead of them. I don't think it'll be easy for them to try and hold this. Is it impossible? No. They could very easily, you know, take this Uber, you know, whip it around and just kill everybody on the point if Opal, you know, locks in and just becomes prime Banny for a moment, which could happen.
If I'm them, and yeah, it does look like they're playing back by heaven, just trying to pull up. Now, ooh, the immediate cap time is actually going to bring out the Uber. Bit of a milk from Soul, but not. No players dropped. Kitchen Sink is going to be caught in heaven here, going to go down any moment. And yeah, I mean, that is actually really impressive pace from Yellow Babber. I was not expecting them to be able to pressure last off of that, but no, they were able to not only pressure last, but both the scouts pressuring point lived, and you basically just sacked a single soldier for the force, which is more than adequate. I mean, teams will regularly double sack into last just to get the force.
Yeah, no, 100%. Teams will just kind of throw both soldiers into that last, look for the force, and then play back towards pipe or something to, you know, anticipate their counter or something. Isaac does go down. Trap does kill him. Looks like Gay Tony going to be mopping up a kill there, but bomb going forward. Soul and West dying. Joe going to be able to find the sentry and the NG as well. 3 players alive for the side of Thank You Gummy, but I don't think it's going to be enough. They just don't have the players alive to defend it. It's just Ink alive. One meat shot takes him down, and Pizza Hat, with the help of I believe that's Joe Real, Isaac, and Flaming, are all going to be able to just dive bomb onto the point, really, and take home the first round.
Notably, and that was actually where the pause was. Oh, and Snower is actually in the game. Very nice. So notably there, Soul was actually really good at building there. It almost evened out. Soul ended up getting caught in heaven at like 96%, so that was actually a much closer push than it looked. As Snower insta-fast rollout, able to trade out with the demo, definitely making an impression the second he's in the game.
Absolutely, and having a very quick demo kill is gonna net Yellow Babbers a lot, and I mean a lot of space. This is going to give them a lot of room to mess around with. Kitchen Sink going to bomb forward, and we'll find Wes. Yeah, thank you, Gummy. Just stayed on a little too long. It looks like Soul going to be able to back out, at least for the time being. Ink goes down behind, so that's effectively 3 players, or not even effectively, 3 players technically down on that mid. With one of those players being dead so early, Gay Tony dying so early, he's up to defend second. But I don't really think it'll matter all too much, because we're probably going to be seeing Yellow Bebber try and rip a sack in while they wait for one of those players to actually show up onto the point, as they still have to wait for someone to roll out.
Yeah, there was plenty of time there to make something happen while both soldiers were down on red. Nevertheless, it will just be Snower bombing in from Al-Qaeda. Does hit a decent high bomb and a nice rocket on the med, but that's not gonna be enough to get the force. Oh, actually, Pizza Hat did slip behind. Ink knows about it, so the team knows about it. Gonna be a 1v1 in 1, but definitely a part of the map that favors a soldier, so basically a double sack now. Snower is spawned and rolling out, but for the time being, 2 kills.
Yeah, for the moment, thank you, Gummy is in a very nice position. They have a little bit of room to mess around with. They just need to play very carefully. They need to play slowly and methodically here. They can kind of rip it through quick, and I think they're beginning to do so now. They saw Kitchen Sink in a vulnerable position. They're going to go forward. They're going to take him down, but Gay Tony does die, end up trading for it. So Gummy's not really going to be able to do anything. They're going to have to pull back, and they need to be careful, as Snower, I believe, is through sewer, lands 2 nice rockets, one of them doing 100 onto Soul, but doesn't get the force, milks that Uber, and much to the benefit of their team here, they maintain that even Uber and kind of force Yellow Bebber's hand into just having to continue throwing players into the mix and hoping they can get some kind of play.
Yeah, Babbers actually were pretty passive on the choke point, considering they had a player actively rolling out. That's like textbook exchange in the choke kind of territory, because you're really just looking to buy time. But nonetheless, I mean, Kitchen Sink was able to find a nice salvage demo trade, and that was enough to scare TY Gummy into backing up. So now it really is just on Babbers to sack. Looks like they're trying to just pressure through choke. Double soldier,
it's
actually.
A double.
Yeah.
Oh, and it works!
Boom. And it gets both scouts as well.
Oh my goodness.
And the demo, oh my god.
This is the most fruitful double sack I think I've ever laid eyes upon.
Flaming might drop.
We do have West coming in. Flaming goes up to the height. Both soldiers drop to the ground.
Man,
trying
Flaming
to salvage
wanted to
something.
drop that. It's like a moment like that, like you can use and it's still add. So that's just scary. Ooh, but they're peeking this. I mean, it's only these 3 players alive. It's the Brass Beast on last as well. I would probably get everyone, get them all super healthy and buffed, and yeah, just take a more methodical Uber rather than a momentum Uber.
Uh-huh. And, I mean, they don't really have to take that momentum Uber as well. As much as I think it might be, you know, oh, let's take the super quick Uber and make it look really cool, big, awesome style points. They're going to opt for the slower method. They're going to wait a moment, wait for their players. They're going to come in. They're going to get 3 players, 4 players even. And just after Soul dies, with all of that damage coming out, no players really towards the point. No one really has line of sight to it, or at least an effective one. That is going to be a 2nd round secured for Yellow Bebber as they look to take home a 3rd, moving into this next mid-fight. And I'd also like to mention, both of these teams have been clashing it out for 15 minutes almost already.
Mm-hmm. Do we have Snower with a fast rollout again, just for that positioning. But Gay Tony actually going to be playing the right side. All of Thank You Gummy going to be playing this right-sided process mid, but both scouts eat so much damage. Opal actually gets chipped down by Pizza Hat. With that kill, yeah, TY Gummy just looking for an exit. The double soldier bomb and choke, though, does get some damage on Soul, but not enough to confirm the kill. Gay Tony, however, dying in choke, probably squashes any hope of refighting mid that Gummy might have had after those 2 soldier kills.
Yeah, that kind of kills the momentum there. Ink will die. Pizza Hat finding the kill, but like you said, that kind of kills any hopes, really. Gay Tony, just kind of the centerpiece we've seen, where if Gay Tony dies, Gummy tends to back out very quickly soon thereafter. Does look like, though, Yellow Bebber's looking to come in quick They do notice Gay Tony caught
man.
inside of IT. They actually don't chase him down, respect the stickies. They get the Uber out from the side of Soul. And they're actually they're holding for a long time. They're looking to just win this DM fight with Opal, but not a lot of damage is being exchanged between the two, and the pinch is inevitable.
Okay, Snower is behind, but I don't think the pack's available at the moment. Flaming finally gets forced by Opal, who's just trying to run around, dodge the 3-rune blade there. But nonetheless, I mean, this is okay if you're, thank you Gummy, considering how bad the Uber went for them, not getting the force at all. But Gay Tony's very aggro in lobby. This is just gonna be a kill. Yeah. A little bit aggressive there. Actually barely survives. And finds a kill somehow. So you're very happy with that if you're Gummy.
Mm-hmm. You are more than happy with that. You're taking that one and running miles with it. Especially with Kitchen Sink managing to find ink here. I guess that kind of shuts down any hopes Gummy may have had with trying to maybe throw someone out and turn things around for them. Because that is a moment, absolutely, where you can kind of throw someone out of your last, maybe go for a sack. You don't ever want to go for it unless you got 2 players down on the other team. They do drop Wes while trying to hold here. I'm not sure if they were a little too aggressive or what killed them. I'm assuming
like
they may have just got juggled.
Aggro peeking too. Oh yeah, and the engineer switched off as well. Uber just gets popped through 5, so plenty of time for Soul Bad Guy to react and save the demo. However, Opal does get dropped in the Uber. Joe tries to face down a Brass Beast, does get shut down, but looks like, oh man, the picks in this post are going both ways. It's Ink against a Scout and a Medic. Definitely not something that favors the Soldier.
No.
However, you don't expect the Med to get the kill, as Flaming able to clutch out that 3rd round.
Yeah, you do not expect to see the Sloppy come out on last of all places, but come out it did, and that, I think, is going to be the first med kill of the game with the melee, nonetheless. And the cap time management there from Yellow Babber was just very, very good. They played around it, they got good damage, and, you know, they tried not to drop as many players. There were some avoidable ones, I do think, but they really, really, really played that one well. And moving into this mid, we're seeing another good play as Snowy Kitchen Sink going for the double bomb. They get 2, but are instantly traded out by Gay Tony and Opal. Pizza Hat, though, managing to find Wolf. Now Opal going down to Joe. That's the end of the mid with the medic dying on the side of Gummy as well. Full Uber ad for Yellow Babber as they push into second, or at least try to, and take down Gay Tony as he's overextended.
Oh, yeah.
Such a late death, 15 seconds behind the rest of his team.
Yeah, definitely forward there. Gay Tony expecting to be able to take a fight on 2, but no, down heals, down multiple players beyond that. No fight to be taken, and look at this pace from Babber. Look at, they're already bombing through. The engineer might be caught. Yes, Mr. Wolf does go down. Uber doesn't find a great place to end, unfortunately, so Lazy Guy might end up going down. It does, but nonetheless, it still looks decent for Babber. They are getting the cap time now. They're focusing some picks. There goes Tony.
What an air shot.
There goes Ink. And yeah, there goes the point.
Yeah, and that was just very well played by Yellow Babber here. They saw the opportunity, they ripped it, and they ripped it well. They got in, they got good cap time, and I think something that was a little bit detrimental to the Gummy hold was that both of their soldiers ended up bombing the point way too early. They bombed into the shiny players, landed pretty much on top of them, expecting to get something out of it, maybe catch someone who's not flashed, but they ended up getting mulched, and they just weren't able to do anything with it, and that's going to move us up to match, or I guess map point here, as we look at this what could be final mid-fight between Yellow Babbers and Gummy on process here. Kitchen Sink dying early. Snower going in for the deep bomb, though, gets Soul. So now at this point, it's death ball territory. You have to keep your beam alive, and it looks like they're going to be successful in doing so. Yeah,
Lazy, unfortunately, pretty split from the beam here. Because again, I mean, whether Mr. Wolf lives or dies here, it really only matters for the logs. All that actually matters for the game state is making sure Flaming stays alive. Which is accomplished, and Soul is the first to spawn, but without anyone to heal, that means there's no one to build Uber with. So, yet again, gonna be mid to last potential here. Second, obviously, completely free. A little bit late on the Sentry Gun as well. Mr. Wolf, considering the late death on mid, is a late spawn on last, so that gun probably not going to get up to level 3, maybe not even level 2.
Yeah, I have my doubts that it'll get up to level 2, but one thing I want to point out for that mid fight is I believe that Lazy ended up dropping a 4K even while separated with those pipes and the stickies, so really put in good work.
Caught again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that very forward gun, and it's just an immediate cap actually, that very forward gun makes more sense in an even Uber situation, or it makes more sense when you have so much time to set it up that you can be, safe by spawn by the time the Uber gets popped. But when you're out in no man's land on Engineer, when that Uber is used, then yeah, you're just a very juicy target for them.
100%. And if I'm not mistaken, this was Gummy's pick as they were the higher seeded team, as Yellow Babbers actually chose to be Team B. And correction, they were not the higher seeded team, Gummy. They just were given A team pickings by virtue of Yellow Babbers picking to be Team B. And we're going to be moving on to Sunshine for our next map, which is the Yellow Babbers pick. So we could be seeing a very quick set of games here. Hopefully not, as Gummy definitely has the ability to win Sunshine. And I think there is a possibility for it to be one of those games where neither team wins on their pick. They only win on the other teams. So I think there's a very good chance we end up seeing a map 3. And obviously I hope we see a map 3. But with how unlucky the circumstances were for Gummy on that process game, I'm a little nervous for them on Sunshine.
Yeah, I kind of agree. A 5-0 in less than 30 minutes is definitely a pretty dominant performance from Yellow Babber, and yeah, they just looked comfortable. It wasn't a mid to last every round, but they actually gained momentum towards the end and started picking things up. But yeah, I don't know. With that not even being Babber's map pick, then I do expect they'll put on a similar performance here on Sunshine.
Yeah. And we do have the logs here that I do want to take a little gander at. Obviously they're not going to be the greatest looking logs. That felt like across the board, except for the soldiers and the scouts, that felt like a low damage game. And these logs somewhat confirm that. We have a lot of the players on Yellow Babber, Ink and one of the soldiers from Yellow Babber up at the very top. Yellow Babber actually having the highest DPM with 320 on one of their soldiers. I believe that should be Snower, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Snower.
No.
Yeah, Snower was not there the entire time. That's Kitchen Sink with the 320.
Ah, right. Okay. Right. Okay. That makes sense. But yeah, like they have the highest DPM, and then following up closely behind, we have Ink with 303, and then one behind that is Joe Real at 302, and then one behind that is Opal at 301, and then the next closest person to Opal is at 260. So this game felt relatively low damage across the board. Except for, these double soldier bombs and these scouts kind of just running forward and mopping things up. That game was definitely a lot more back and forth than the logs, I think, show. We saw a lot of points changing hands. We saw a lot of, flubbed pushes. And we saw moments of hope from Gummy, where they had opportunities to take advantages and take it home and take home a win on the map. But unfortunately, they were not able to do so, and they're not going to be able to take home the win on process. But new map, new me. We move on to Sunshine, and hopefully Gummy will be able to put on a stronger performance.
Yeah, we'll have to see. As far as how Sunshine compares to process, it is kind of better, in my opinion, in almost every conceivable way. But the mid is definitely one that does favor rotation in a way that process honestly doesn't for higher level play. Usually teams at a higher level just play process more centrally rather than picking a side. But nonetheless, yeah, definitely very rotation / meat oriented mid fight, which has so far been favoring Babber. We'll see if that continues here on Sunshine. But besides that, I mean, last is arguably a lot easier to pressure. Although we weren't seeing a ton of stalemates on last in the prior game. So who knows there. And besides that, I mean, second, probably a harder point to just dry push off of like a demo having poor positioning, for example. And probably also a point where just ripping a soldier sack without much pressure, unlikely to be as good. I suppose a valley sack might be okay on that front, but might need a little more coordination to get things cooking into second.
Yeah, these teams will definitely need to work a little bit better together, and I don't think working better with one another really sticks with either team more so than the other. We definitely saw some moments where both were kind of just off doing their own thing and, kind of just farming kills in certain moments. Whether they be off doing their own thing by choice or not is, up in the air. But, yeah, I think this map, especially on 2, takes a lot more effort to try and push in and try to take home the win. But we should be going live relatively soon. Shouldn't be too much longer of a wait. Both teams say they are ready, so at this point it is kind of just up to them to hit the Ruppington and send us into the next game. And as I say that, they hit the Ruppington, we're going to be going live on Sunshine, and this is another map where normally I look at the demos, and I think this time around I'll actually be able to stick with looking at the demos. And Wes, interestingly enough, rolling out on the right side, but chooses to kite back to the left. So Gummy is going to be down a soldier for at least the good first part of this
that's the pocket who wants the bow as well, so he's not even going to get his bow. No. Yeah, he's just stuck. Oh no.
That's
that's definitely a disadvantage to have early on. Oh, and Soul gets bombed while trying to heal Wes. And Wes gets traded out with. That is unfortunate. Kitchen Sink going to be bombing Ink off of the height and secures that kill. Soul now 2 HP does finally go down. And yeah, yet again, just Operation Keep Flaming Alive. And 2 scouts are definitely good classes to do that.
Yeah, this is definitely the ideal players you want alive. Maybe a demo in that mix as well. But wait a minute, there is a scout in behind. It's going to be Opal finding their way through, threading the needle between the combo, takes down Flaming Pizza Hat, takes them and Mr. Wolf down, however, and turns around to find Gay Tony inside of Blue Cafe. But with Flaming dying there, this is going to give Gummy a glimmer of hope, a chance to hold on to 2, especially now with Wes finding the pick onto Pizza Hut as they overextend in Red Calf.
Yeah, I mean, that was just Yellow Babber getting too ambitious because, again, once you kill the other team's med and you get so many kills on combat players that you know beyond a reasonable doubt you've already won the mid, at that point, you don't need to go chase kills and you don't need to put Flaming in a position where they can get shot at. You can just back up Choke, back up by Valley. You could even back up Cafe earlier before the demo went there. Because, again, facing those kills, they aren't really that meaningful, but keeping your med alive is. Speaking of kills, though, in all the mayhem, somehow Babber have conjured up 3 kills and have now dry pushed second with ease.
Well, I think one of the players, it was Snower in Cafe who was hiding in the corner on the far right if you're pushing into it, was able to take down West, but I'm not sure where the other 2 kills really came from. Those were like, they just cast a spell and then magically half of the team, half of Gummy died. They're going to rip this Uber in, though. They get the use out from the side of Gummy. They don't find the gun. Demo dies early, walks onto the stickies. Soldier very weak on the right, gets taken down by West. Flaming dies. Joe dies. It's 2 players alive for the side of Yellow Babber. They've got to get out of dodge if they want any hope of clinging on to even middle here. Wait a minute. Pizza Hat in lower. Either looking for the back cap or looking for the opportunity to
really can only make a flank play. Gets spotted, though. It's going to be a 1v1 that they will unfortunately lose. Yeah, I don't know what that Uber was about. because keep in mind that was slight disad for Yellow Babbers, so you're not expecting to like build check the team usually, or at least you need to really, really build better than them to make up an even greater margin. But also, I mean, the Uber didn't get the gun. Lazy guy ended up dying to traps on point. The entire Uber just ended in the middle of point where everyone instantly died. So there was just a lot of things going wrong there. As oh man, that's
what a deep bomb.
Gay Tony dying to a trap and Wes dying as well.
Yeah, this is not great for Gummy here. Gay Tony goes in very deep, very high, and ends up cratering. They Uber in on mid here. I'm not sure if that was a force or if they wanted to rip the exchange. I missed the first part of that fight, but they have Pizza Hat behind, threatening the back gap. They see Soul and choke. Soul is pinched. This is such a late med death. They could have left him alive, truth be told. They could have pet him. Probably not necessary, but they could have. They'll probably rip this this push. Man. They'll rip this Uber in.
There's a trap on this door.
Please clear your corners, family.
Oh no, okay.
Corners.
Does use in time. Gay Tony is caught. Yeah, this is looking like a round. Almost certainly, actually. So yeah, that push in the mid from TY Gummy did look like a build check attempt with the kind of confidence they were trying to get through choke. Did seem like they felt they had an advantage, and it was real. I mean, they had a build check ad. But, of course, having two players basically immediately blow up and then taking the Uber anyway, not getting any kills with it, yeah, obviously, things are going to go wrong at that point. But the initial idea of the push was fine. Probably should have called it off at some point.
Yeah. At some point, you just have to know when to pull away from that push and, you know, cut your losses, just try and get out, hold on to second, maybe hold on to last, leave someone to die for a sack, something like that. But unfortunately, they did not find that window. So Nowhere going to go down very early here. Ink finding the first kill of the mid. But it looks like Yellow Babber is still in it to win it, with Soul going down to kitchen sink. Now, at this point, it's a death ball situation. You know Gummy is probably going to throw their players into you. You want to protect your beam as best as you possibly can. Opal hiding in Cafe, decides to leave. They actually don't send anything towards Flaming at all, and they're going to get free Uber.
What was nice is so many of Thank You Gummy's players were so weak that they kind of had to rat around for packs. Ooh, Ink going for the force here. Does get it. Okay. So nice timing there. Mr. Wolf, though, looking caught. Wes looking caught as well. Oh, man. I would be... Oh, Gay Tony actually died during that as well. Yeah, Ink living. I would be very disappointed if I was Ink, finding the timing to get the force and living behind, only to have two of my teammates get caught to the Uber anyway.
Oh, there's so much cap time here as well. Pizza Hat is kind of going in a one-man army, and with, you know, the very delayed help of Snower will eventually find, or both of them will get taken down. Snower tried to, like, bomb the point and help, but, oh, and Kitchen Sink getting caught in lower as well.
I feel like pressuring here is not a bad idea if you are TY Gummy, because, yeah, Ink was behind. Made the play, on the med. Fortunately, didn't get too much. I mean, the positioning is good for Gummy, at least. Ooh, Snower is bombing the med. Suddenly, the positioning is not as good anymore. And,
the back half! Pizza Hat with the back half!
Did find a timing behind. I mean, that's always the risk you run when you take kind of prolonged, dry-ish sort of fights on second is, yes, you can clear the flank, but that's an action you do once, right? And then past that point, there's just timings for players to slip behind. So the longer you take that fight, the more likely it is that someone can just get behind after you're clear.
And it's especially the case when, you know, you think you have the massive advantage, but you don't clear things as you're rapidly pushing forward. You don't make sure, you know, that you don't have any ratters behind you. And Pizza Hat was just lucky enough to not get cleared, not get spotted. They found an opening. They went straight through, and they got their team a big old
lazy guy
for the round. But this is a lot of damage coming towards Yellow Babber. Somehow they managed to find West. They find Soul early on, or I guess rather towards the end of this mid fight, as Gummy is wiping on mid. They're trying to go for Flaming. Flaming is pretty much unscathed in this fight. There's not a lot of damage coming their way, and with pretty much only their scouts alive at the end, or towards the end of that, there's only so much they can do. And I'm not sure if they had the miracle juice to slip through the entirety of the combo and double meat shot the medic again.
Yeah, it was not to be for them this time around. And the pace as well is definitely being kept up by Yellow Babber. Already on second before mid's even capped, and already in lobby now. Peeking into last, sort of diagnosing the hold. They can probably see... Ooh, and again, Mr. Wolf with a even Uber's kind of gun position on this ad. So if the Uber gets popped right around now, then that is going to be a caught engineer. Uber is going to get popped through the door. Going to be gun getting focused. Mr. Wolf, though, still going to be caught.
Lazy's very low here. If they don't play this post properly, Lazy could die. He just runs forward, though. They don't care.
Yeah.
Blue team is waddling forward, looking to get as many kills as possible. It's just Opal and a soldier. Ink goes down. Now it's just a scout.
That's
one fight goes for the pan. Yellow Babbers drives through and takes home a third round with, I think, a 2-pan kill on last.
Yeah, no, that was very well played by Lazy Guy towards the end there. I mean, just good shots being hit, because the weak soldier and full health scout, you're really expecting them to be able to win against a medic demo. But no, able to hit the pipe, able to hit... I think an arrow helped out as well to secure the pan kill, but nonetheless, nice post-Uber fight.
Yeah, very nice post. They played that well, and they played carefully when they realized they were down players as well. They didn't try and walk towards a spammable area for that soldier. They didn't over-peek, and they played their space. Soul going to be going down. A big bomb from Kitchen Sink here. Snower, I think, bombed earlier, but only got a little bit of damage. Kitchen Sink decided to follow up on it. Lazy will go down. So this, I think, is the first mid we've seen Yellow Babber lose just off player alone.
Nonetheless, they found the kill onto Soul. I really hope that for Babber's sake they don't try and fight mid here. Okay, yeah, they do chill out, and look at that. They spot the flank, they see the threat of the soldier, and now everything's looking hunky-dory. We're going to have this Uber advantage. Yeah, I think so far every single mid, Snower and Kitchen Sink have had really good coordination bombing Soul specifically, and I don't think there's been a mid that Soul has been able to survive with just, the hard focus of the two soldier bombs.
Yeah, Soul can't catch a break with these mids, but I think we're seeing an Uber rip through Blue Choke as Yellow Babbers looks to come forward and reclaim mid, maybe find Soul in the chaos. They find Gaytoni, they find West, they find Ink.
Ooh,
now
Mr.
they're
Wolf
at player ad. Mr. Wolf is in on the med. 2 meat shots, though, from Joe will put him down, and that will secure mid for Yellow Babbers, as we actually have Kitchen Sink going a little bit further forward, trying to get some early pressure for the rest of his team in a really, really crack open 2 for Yellow Babbers as they steamroll their way in. They are on full disad, though, so they need to play this carefully. They need to build this out and potentially anticipate some kind of sack if Gummy decides they want to throw something. Ideally, they wouldn't, because, never sack out of last in a situation like this, unless you have crazy advantage or can spot their back.
The ad as well. Pizza Hat as well, going to be dungeon here. Does get cleared and killed. Uber doesn't get popped, so it's going to be evens when all is said and done, instead of this ad. And, West peeking in the mid here, actually. But does get identified, starting to get spammed out. The demo's here, so things... Oh, actually, keep your eyes on Mr. Wolf through Cafe. Does not commit, but had a potential play onto the med. And that being said, Snower making craziness happen. Using all that mayhem to take the opportunity to sack. So now we are in a proper counter-sack.
Yeah, we are in the proper counter-sack timing here. Ink does go down, so that is the sack. They can't really send anything else here. Lazy Guy dies. Now they have an opportunity to throw something else through, should they so desire. I don't know if they'll send West through. They might send a scout through choke or something, but from the looks of it,
Joe
they're just chilling.
Take an exchange, but
oh
no, Flaming gets stuck on the
wait,
stairs.
Flaming is getting pinched by the soldier from Cafe. They drop on mid. Big play from West.
Yeah, that was kind of messy. Joe wanted to take the... Oh my god, both of that's just dropping. Very classic. Yeah, Babber wanted to take the Uber into Cafe, but Flaming got stuck on some geometry and couldn't catch up, and Joe died, and then suddenly Flaming ends up dropping to the very same players in Cafe. Well, the crazy thing about some of the newcomer TF2 is that it feels like the Med's destinies are tied very often, where when a med drops, the other med is like very, very likely to drop, or far likelier than would otherwise be.
Mm-hmm. These teams are really just looking at each other. We can go band for band. We can go drop for drop. Nowhere getting bombed here. Manages to find the pack. Will survive. West could go down here. Somehow dies. Manages to dodge the one rocket. Should have backed away, but stayed in just a little too long. Gets taken down. Pizza Hat is behind. Coming through Blue Choke now. Looking to pinch these players in IT. One shot, two shot on the beam. One shot on the scout. It's cleanup crew time for Kitchen Sink and Pizza Hat as they manage to facilitate the wipe of Gummy. And Yellow Babbers are going to be driving through to mid, looking to claim it as their own, potentially rip an Uber into last at some point as well.
Yeah, they should deny 2 players here, which should mean a pretty easy push into second. That fight on 2, actually, thank you, Gummy, were not wrong to try and dry push that, because Flaming was very passive, considering it was even Ubers, like playing on bats as though it was disad. And when the other team's medic is just not really supporting the players holding the doors, and it really makes sense to challenge those doors. But we do see the Uber get popped through Valley. Gay Tony just forward choke. Didn't seem to realize it was disad, will be caught. The bomb was not enough to catch anyone else, so it will just be last pressure off of that demo kill.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to really rip it through. They're going to try and send Kitchen Sink in, actually, interestingly enough. A little bit of cap time coming out now as Snower also opts to go in. Drops a whoops in chat. Maybe,
yeah, tried to go for a speed shot, I think, and missed it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's really necessary for them to be throwing sacks in here. 'Cause at least it looks like what they're doing, because they have ad. They don't really need to, throw their bodies into last and try and get a beam kill. They can just pressure their way in.
Well, I think, like, with the demo kill was a pretty temporary thing. Ooh, Uber actually gets popped here, but should be evens. Lazy Guy, however, dying. And the flank does get cleared. Snower, however, I think has a free little ticket on the last. It's just a matter of if 2 can get stopped.
Yeah, there goes Snower, who is getting pretty stuffed here. They have ink going back,
just
but it's not going to be able to make
decide
it.
The round, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, I think for that last pressure, I mean, Kitchen Sink almost killed Soul with the solo bomb with like a nice juggle, but just wasn't able to get that second rocket off. And I think the Snower bomb was really just trying to follow up on that 130 damage, maybe make something happen. Looking like maybe gonna be another 5-0 for Babber.
I mean, if this is a 5-0 for Yellow Babber, they're going to be securing themselves a spot in the grand finals tomorrow. But for the time being, checking out this mid, it's going to be Snower bombing deep, going to get a lot of good damage onto Soul. Could, I believe, Kitchen Sink bomb in now, finding the kill onto Soul.
Every mid.
At the start, every time. I don't think there's been a mid where Soul has survived, but check this out. Opal pinching behind, looking for Flaming. Gets taken down by Joe Real with Mr. Wolf, the last man standing on Gummy. I think Yellow Babber is going to be pushing through, trying to take home the Dubski pretty quickly here.
Yep, absolutely. Going to be, yet again, this mid to last scenario. They're already capping 2. They already have both scouts here. Mr. Wolf, again, going for a pretty forward gun here. Yet again, might be caught depending on if they try and upgrade that to level 2 or not. Do have Flaming finally getting Uber here, so it really is just a matter of getting all these players healthy and choosing a door to pop this Uber.
Yeah. Yellow Babbers here really just has to... They don't really have to bide their time, per se, but their ad is dwindling quickly. It looks like they're trying to posture themselves to go out top right. They're fearing a little bit, but they rip early. They're going to be bombing through. Snower actually dies early. Gun gets focused down very early on in the Uber, which is going to be very beneficial. Lazy actually deaths on himself on accident, gets taken down because of it. Kitchen Sink and Joe Real, and I believe that was also Pizza Hat going to be finding a lot of kills, a lot of cap time on the point here as well, with Red's Beam dying at 97%. There's only so much they can do on the side of Thank You Gummy, and Yellow Babber is going to be driving through and taking home the win on both maps in a clean 10-round sweep.
Yeah, that last fight actually kind of just looked like a DM difference because the Uber was really not that great. It didn't end in a good spot. Lazy Guy may have died during or immediately following the Uber. And yeah, Snower died early, but they just kind of hit a bunch of shots and like killed people to turn the tides.
Yeah. That last Uber was an interesting thing to say the least. And Lazy died, I kid you not, because he bombed forward. He did the right thing. They're in. They're doing everything. They're getting damaged. They focus the gun down, but they put a sticky at their feet. And then as their Uber faded, as it flashed off of them, they det on themselves with the sticky that was under their feet. And deleted like all of their HP. So it just took one rocket, one meat shot to send them to the Nether realm, and that's where they ended up going. It's just an unfortunate set of butterfingers, I think, would be the best way to describe it. But
Yep.
we do have logs here yet again.
Yeah,
and
I mean, this is mostly just for fun because I kind of know the story of that half, which was that every single mid, Snower and Kitchen Sink would bomb and kill Soul Bad Guy, and every single mid it was really just up to Yellow Babber to keep flaming alive. Most of the mids they did, some they weren't able to, but yeah, just a bunch of mid to lasts jumbled together, and it did seem like Thank You Gummy were just never able to be in the driver's seat because you have to at some point win mid, whether that be on the mid fight or after, to get anything going, and they were just never in that position.
Yeah. I mean, Soul just could not catch a break this game. I mean, every mid, they show up, they try their hardest, and I mean, it's not even that big of a heal dip. It's about 4K, which is still a good chunk, but it's not insane. They did what they could, really. I mean, they won a mid fight. I think even still in that mid fight they won, Soul ended up dying anyway. I don't think there was a mid where Soul was able to survive. I mean, it's just there's only so much they can do, and of course, with the dominant performance of Snower and I believe Kitchen Sink just really creating nukes out of thin air when you really wouldn't imagine there be one or be a bomb that is applicable in that scenario. They pull one out and they somehow manage to turn things around, or I guess not really turn things around, but add on to the momentum, throw fuel into the fire for the constantly running vehicle that is gonna get a Yellow Babber.
Yeah, I think and honestly, like the double bombs were not always simultaneous. A lot of the times it was like Snower going in early, and I just happened to hit the med for 100. There's no packs in mid for Soul to get, and a few seconds later, suddenly Kitchen's in a position to bomb and really only needs to connect one rocket. And if that's like repeatedly happening on these mids, then if you're Thank You Gummy, you kind of just need to really adjust around that, because that is really what's losing the mids, is your med dying to these double bombs. So you either really focus those soldiers, maybe like play passively to bait them into those bombs, get those kills, and then win off of the picks. Or if you're unable to even protect your med then like focus on how can we counteract our med dying offensively by, actually attacking them before they've already killed our med and realize they can just kind of chill out and wait things out.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, what they were doing on those mids wasn't working. They can't, play back and play slow. At that point, they have to try and, adapt to the best defense is a good offense. They just have to try and throw themselves forward and make some kind of space. But realistically speaking, their soldiers would bomb, but there wasn't a lot of support from Gummy's players, and that space would get created and then lost instantly, and then it would get annexed essentially by Yellow Babber. But I mean, it's just unfortunate again, because Soul died so many times on the mids from the double bombs that ended up taking back all the space that Yellow Babber lost from the Gummy bombs as well.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, Thank You Gummy definitely were the upset team to even get in this position. But Yellow Babber really showing some dominance today. Not dropping around. Sunshine was pretty quick as well. Just a handful of mid to lasts. And yeah, they're going to be going off to grand finals. I don't know if it's decided yet who they'll meet there or not.
It is, at the current moment, it is not decided. Witness Jr. is up 3-1 on map 2. They did win map 1, if I'm not mistaken. So the finalist and the third, fourth have not yet been decided for who we'll be seeing tomorrow.
Yeah, in either case, though, I mean, Yellow Babber definitely looking like a very strong team in Grands. And yeah, I'll be cheering on Snower for sure.
Absolutely. And just before we go, because that will wrap up our broadcast session for the night, just before we go, I do want to mention next Intercontinental LAN, literally right around the corner. It is coming up. We got 14 days till games start getting played. We got 2 weeks, 2 of them. You can count them on one finger. 1, 2. It is coming up. We got Australia. We got Witness Gaming Australia, Witness Gaming Europe, Like a G6, Froyotech, just to name a few, pulling up. If you would like to donate and help the LAN event get even bigger, have a little bit of a bigger prize pool, you can donate items and money by typing PFD 2025. And related to the LAN, we also have a line of merch, which you can access by typing !PFD merch. We have some good designs there. We have an awesome design featuring 2 dogs, which I cannot read aloud on stream, but it is a very good design. I think I'm going to cop myself one of those. And, of course, massive big thank you to Liquid TF, the premier marketplace for buying unusuals cheap, up to 80% off in some cases, and a very, very proud sponsor of the TF2CC Cup. Liquid TF in chat to get a link to the Discord. And I'm fairly certain players and coaches for this event get medals through Liquid TF as well for the second time in Newbie Cup history.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm fairly certain they do, but could be wrong. But I think that is going to conclude our yapping session for the day. Do you have any shout-outs before we go, Mr. Rumpus?
Shout-outs KJR and shout-outs Snower.
That's what I'm saying. Shout out my grandma. Always has the casts open on the stream downstairs, or sometimes she got them up on the big TV we got in the living room. Sometimes she's got them up on her other monitor while she does her work. So grandma, #1 supporter down there. And shout out to my bestest pals who are actively watching this cast as well. But that is going to do it for us tonight. I have been Eki in the booth with Wild Rumpus and with _ on production. Tune in tomorrow at 1900 Eastern Daylight Time for, I believe, 3rd place match played first, and then we move on to the grand finals at around 2030.